everyone. Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing good. So, quick background of our show, really fast. So glad to have our attorney tonight with us. We're going to have so much fun, guys. As you know, I started this show because I was like, hey, we need more people that look like us, that think like us in this field. So, I said, let's show them off. And I started As the Law Turns because only 5% of lawyers in the United States are Black. And I was like, what? So I'm very glad tonight to have on one of our guest attorneys. We're going to dive into our conversation after she does a quick introduction. So I'm going to let her go. Go.
Oh, hello, hello. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Always excited to uh, sit here and talk to other like-minded professional Black women attorneys, judge. I'm like, so that's even very impressive. But yes, I'm Lorraine Funderburg. I run Funderburg Law. It is a boutique firm here in Atlanta, Georgia. We focus primarily on entertainment and business transactions. Our motto is create the brand, create the business, protect the brand, build the legacy. So do lots of trademark and copyright registration, maintenance, contract drafting, review, negotiation, and yeah, all that jazz. So yeah.
Sorry, I'm late. For some reason, I missed the link. I've been checking.
So happy to have you.
I missed it.
Everybody knows my co host, the actual honorable
Hmm.
Judge Don Field. And Attorney Funderburg just gave us a great introduction. So we're going to dive
Nice.
right into the topic.
Good, good, good. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
Really uber excited about this topic because if anybody knows me, they wouldn't think it, but I kind of like a little bit of rap, a little bit of smidgen. And I have my people, and Meg Thee Stallion is up there for me. I just like her largely because she's smart. Like I like that she uses her brain, even though she uses her beauty. She also uses her brain, and I really, really like that. So tonight we're talking about the Meg Thee Stallion. I call it the suit saga because it's like 4 or 5 different lawsuits.
There's always something going on with movie stars and rappers. The $2 million is just never enough. 15 million just not, but that's okay. As long as they stay in controversy, people like Judge Dawn, Miss Funderburg, Judge Vivian can get their portions paid for. So conflict on. Conflict on.
So
Buy our summer homes, okay?
yes, please. I need a summer. Wait a minute. I need a first home. Hold up. She probably no. So to give a little background about this story, those who don't know who Meg Thee Stallion is, she's a famous rapper. She started Hot Girl Summer and all of the store Hot Girl memes. And she is in a lawsuit with her record label. Now it's I believe it's 4 lawsuits that we're up to now. The first one was her suing her label for she said that they had not paid her since she'd been on the label. She said that she was suing them because they would not give her creative freedom, wouldn't allow her to release certain songs. And now, after actually winning that one, if I'm not mistaken, she won the ability to start putting out new music. She's suing them again for money owed. So her record label said, dun, 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 we're going to sue your back because you didn't make an album. This isn't an album. This is a mixtape.
Air quotes, album. So they define album whatever way they want to. So I'm going to use air quotes that says she didn't make an album. Okay.
Now they're saying this because some of the title tracks are vocal recordings of just a person speaking, and the person speaking apparently isn't Meg Thee Stallion. So I'm just gonna let y'all take over from here because I feel like the explanation's on the table. So
okay, let me say this kind of as a backdrop for those of us that are kind of long in the tooth, like my cousin Bernice. She's listening again. Stars have always done this. Fortunately or unfortunately for this time and era, the law public when we were growing up, not necessarily when we were growing up. Now at 63, 64 years old, there are stars that have literally died penniless because they didn't have lawyers, they didn't negotiate, they didn't read the contract. So this has been going on a long time. It's now more advertised, but just like a lot of things, stars have been suing the production people and the makers and the record company forever. Once again, there are many of stars in my generation that have died penniless, 60 years old, 70 years old plus, that have died penniless. Now, so Megan Thee Stallion's lawsuit is not any different. It may be sensationalized a little bit more because we're talking out millions of dollars, not barely six figures. People that have a world-renowned effect, not just Florida effect, the United States effect that probably where we grew up, maybe some small European connections. So this has been going on forever. I say that to say this. Judge Vivian created this show to encourage young people involved in law-related fields. So this issue is never going away. As long as people are in the need of greed, yes, I said it. As long as people are just bicker and argue over petty, sensitive things, if you will, there's always a need for lawyers and litigation. And once again, Judge Vivian and I are trial attorneys. I repeat this every week, but for those of you who are newly joining us, we are litigators. We spend our time in court. We love litigation, but not everyone has to be a trial attorney. Zoom alone outside of litigation, contract formation, agents that are not necessarily lawyers, but it helps. But you don't necessarily have to be a litigator to be involved in this kind of thing. So I want to say that's the background and always remind all of our listening audience the purpose of As the Law Turns. Judge Vivian created to get more interest in for minority females in law-related fields. So, and hi, Cousin Bernice, just look an old school lesson for those of us who do not know Megan Thee Stallion and have to research that stuff.
I'm trying to keep you hit. So I'm very interested in this case, largely because it's playing out on Twitter right now.
Yeah, so I hadn't really been following it. But I think one of the things is like Judge Don was saying is that this is very typical of the music industry. And like I tell my clients all the time when they're looking to sign label agreements, I'm like, when you look at them, they're pretty much like, how can I screw you over? Let me count the ways. That's like the nature of the business. It has been that way. And I'm like, if you really think about it, I'm not sure why these artists are really signing these deals still now in 2022, because you're signing to a label. You don't have any ownership over any of the things that you're creating. They give you an advance, right? So this money that they're giving you, like, so under what other employment set of circumstances is it that you don't actually earn your money, right? Where it's like if you work for a job, you don't have to give it back to them, right? You don't work every day, go to a job from 9 to 5, 5 days out of the week for them to pay you, and then for you to have to pay them back that money, right? But essentially, that's what happens under these contracts when these artists are signed to these labels. They go to work for the label, they're creating the music, they don't own it, they don't get to walk away with it at the end of the day, and they give them in advance, whatever this money is, and everybody just gets excited about that money. And I'm like, but that money you are paying back now for the entire time that you are under this term with this label. So they're giving you a loan for there's not really any reason to me that I'm like, why haven't these artists started bucking? Because they're the creators. They're the ones who are making the music. And so the labels wouldn't be able to distribute anything if they didn't have people out here creating it. So I think it's really time for artists really just need to band together. And
I hate generalizing and stereotyping, but I'm going to do it anyway because that's what I do. Majority of the artists, especially in this genre, are probably single parents, Mom and dad has been working literally paycheck to paycheck. Um, the idea of making anything close to six figures is just overwhelming. There's no school that says at 12 and 13 and 15 years old, this is what you do. This is how you read a contract, slow your roll. So you're 19, 20 years old, you're bebopping, rapping, girls are throwing their undergarments at you, men are constantly picking you up, and all of a sudden someone sits in front of you and says, I'll make you a millionaire. And you say, wow, just explode. So there's no time to really, these are not highly educated and schooled people. They are just blessed enough to be talented and pushed by people to pursue their talent. And so, and mom and dad and cousins really don't have that financial background. And you don't think about getting a lawyer. You don't history. They don't think history repeat themselves. So that's why I think artists and football players and basketball players and professional athletes continue to get into this quagmire. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And he who holds the money makes the gold, and all the other adages I can do. So I'm flashing $1 million at a 21-year-old. I'll sign anywhere.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I think with it being popularized, not popularized, but like sensationalized, like you had mentioned earlier, like especially nowadays where people are having these issues, you know, Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion, where these labels, they're suing their labels because for these very reasons exactly. So they have a lot more awareness of it now, like everybody does. So there has to be some level of still responsibility, and everybody's not young signing these contracts. You know, some people are renegotiating bad contracts. Some people have been in the game and are switching to different labels and publishing and are still signing bad contracts. So it's not even a like it's we're just talking about young people. Though, you know, in this case with Megan Thee Stallion, yes, that is the case. You know, she signed a contract at 20, and of course, like I get it. I mean. I'm sure I would have probably been in the same situation, you know, to some degree. But I also think about uh, the fact that, like, if somebody, there has to be some level of awareness when somebody hands you an agreement, period, right? Like, whether you know what's inside of it, you know that this means that something binding, it means something important. Otherwise, I wouldn't have ever been presented with this document. And
Well,
so there should be some a second you know, an inquiry made after that point.
who among us have not signed a credit card agreement or a housing agreement or buying a car, which is 37,000 pages long, and just sign it because someone is in our ear saying, do this to do this, or we're too embarrassed, shy, ignorant to really slow you down and ask a question. So you're sitting with a bunch of high powered executives. You're probably eighth or ninth grade education, maybe college education, and people are there and you want to read every little detail and they're humming and hot. That takes a lot of courage. And when I say young people, I'm 64 years old. I'm still including the 30 and 40 years old as young people because I didn't grow a brain that amounted to anything until I was late into my 40s. So now we're talking about 30 years old, sitting around the table. You've been in the business industry for 10 years. Let's say 40 years old. You've been in the business industry for 15 years, and the producers and the starlights and everybody's pushing you. And okay, anytime you just sign it. I don't know anybody, few people that are brave enough. Maybe the Oprah Winfrey is in the world, Michael Jackson in the world will say, hey, stop. Give me 2 weeks to read this contract. Don't push me in anything. That takes a lot of nerve. That which one of us is not
Like, I mean, I know plenty of people who do it because those are my clients. You know, that's how what my business is based off of. When people receive contracts that they're like, hold up, before I'm signing off on anything, I need to have my attorney look at it. So
Yeah, I can understand that, but I'm stuck on the point about an album or not an album.
yes. That's and all of that, yeah, all of that is in the contract. So when there's always going to be like pages and those label agreements, there's like pages and pages that are dedicated to definitions, right? Because there that means that whatever common term that you may think that this word means is not what it means as far as this contract is concerned. We're going to capitalize it and let you know that when you see Big A album, that means the definition that I decided on page, 42 of this contract. And so, I mean, I haven't looked at the agreement, so I can't say, whether or not, but based off of what I was hearing, it was like, hey, that, like you mentioned, it sounded like, I mean, she had just spoken words that weren't her. I think they said that some of the songs had already been previously released too, so it wasn't new songs. And then based on the content, it didn't, based on what you would count that would have been part of the album, it didn't make up 45 minutes, which was probably within that, definitive term of how they defined album. And so, yeah, without looking at the contract, I can't say one way or another, but I'm pretty sure like that's the sole reason that they do stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is what I need you to know means album or record or master, what we're defining it as, so that they can do stuff like what they're doing now. And I just think it's unfortunate, especially if all of this is true, that they haven't been paying her, and it's like, how can you even do her like that? You know what I mean? Like, you just felt like you could just take all of her money, just eat off of all of her hard work and give her nothing, like nothing in return.
Yep.
It is really crazy to me that somebody would even have that mindset,
Because
like,
she greedy. Because she greedy. So
You
sue
know
me.
what makes it funny to me in the tweets, because I went and read the tweets too between him and her back and forth. And I'm thinking to myself, he's all like, she don't make me no money anyway when he first started. And I'm like, first of all, we all know that that's not true. And then I appreciated her humor with it when she's like, if I don't make you no money, then why you suing me for back pay? I don't understand. So I'm like, okay, yeah. And I just, like I said, I love her as an artist because not just for her music. There are some songs I really do enjoy. There are some songs I'm just like, yeah, it's a little much for me, my taste. But I love the fact that she has put herself out to the public in a very open and authentic way, but also in a smart way. She's went back to school recently, and she made that as a part of one of her songs, if I'm not mistaken. And then the articles go on to talk about how after having sued her label and won the first suit, because there are 4 lawsuits in play.
Wow.
Right now. And the reason why is because the last one is a countersuit from the label. So the first 3 are her. The first one is because they wouldn't give her creative direction and wouldn't let her release new music, which doesn't make sense in my opinion if the whole point is to get money. Exactly. Apparently there must have been something in that because the judge awarded them an injunction to stop keeping her from releasing new music, which is why we were blessed with that BTS Meg Thee Stallion combination. I'm kind of excited about that. Everybody knows I love my K-pop. Okay. So I'm like, okay. And then apparently she then sued for back pay. So that's suit number 2, because she says that they never paid her a dime this entire time. If I'm not mistaken, Meg Thee Stallion's running between, I believe, I should have looked up her age, guys, about 26 years old now. And she signed this deal, 27. She signed this deal when she was 20. So she's been with this label going on 7 years. And she's alleging that they've never paid her, like, at all. Not even a penny. And we all know how worthless pennies are now. But they didn't even pay her a penny. And then the third lawsuit is going towards, why did it fail me as I was about to say it? I can't remember the third part right now, but I do know that part of it is because they are alleging in the countersuit that they want to get monies from her from outside things as well, such as her endorsements, her speaking engagements, and any of her outside performances that have nothing to do with the music that was released from this particular label. She's on a co-label. I'm gonna let Attorney Funderburg kind of talk about that just a pinch. The fact that she's on another label as well. She's also with Rock Nation, and how that can kind of happen when you can have 2 running contracts at the same time.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know how that specific situation is working out as far as like, yeah, I have no idea. What I was thinking was that Rock Nation was who owned the contract with her production company label, which is who
I
she's suing. And so
don't know.
yeah, I'm not sure if that's the
Mhm.
setup but if you're saying co-label, then it would, I mean, to me, that makes absolutely no sense. But it would just be probably what the deal that they have with Rock Nation is like a 50-50 as opposed to like your typical label deal. So it still reads like a production.
Let me throw a wrench in there. An attorney just talked about her clients kind of have said to the production company or the producers or the other artists, slow down. Let me have an attorney read this. We can only legally advise you. We're not your parents. We can't direct you. We can say, in our best legal opinion, this contract is not one that we encourage you to sign. You can do what you want to do. I don't know the particulars of Megan the Stallion, but I think everything gets down to bottom line greed. I want more. I want more. $1 million is never enough. The production company should be paying me more. The background singers should be paid more. The movers should be paid more. And so, regardless of how tight you seal a contract, as long as the people agree and greedy, we're going to do this. I agree. It's always best to have a lawyer involved, always. In it, buying a house, buying a car, everything we do, a contract, you should have a lawyer review it. However, we're only legal advisors. We can't make you do anything that you decide not to do. So, um,
Right. No, and I was gonna say because that is the other piece of it, right? So you can tell them like, which I say a lot of times, I'm like, hell no, don't sign this contract. Like this is not what you want. And they'll still right because they're like, I need that check, so I'm gonna sign it regardless. Thank you. I'll pay you your check. Look, I'll be like, hey, look.
And they
okay.
gonna pay you like
Sorry.
4 checks later because they like,
Well,
you
sorry, yeah, because now you want to try to come up out of it, and I'm like, and they got it airtight where you go ahead and perform. That's what you wanted.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
yeah,
I'm not sure actually whether they're coterminous or not. I agree. I think maybe there is some kind of she may have a separate production company for her speaking engagements and all that. That I think maybe
no,
too.
yeah, I was gonna say, and it could be that. I'm thinking that if anything, Rock Nation is who like is the label that distributes her. So a lot of times, so Megan Thee Stallion was 20 when she signed with this Carl guy, whoever her production company, I mean her label is, right? And
Yeah.
so that's like the indie artist thing, right? And so it was probably some dude that she knew that was like supporting her when she was coming up and this, that, and the third. And he's like, you know what, you rap, I'm gonna start a label, around her or whatever, pretty much. And then grew the label with her and other artists. I'm assuming like now this is
Oh,
I'm not saying that this is the fact for her, but I'm saying like this is normally what happens when you're an indie artist is you end up signing with some like lower level just independent production company, but you sign a real like deal with them because they rope you in because they know like, oh, she got something right here. But then they go get a deal with like your Rock Nation, your Universal, your Warner, so all of the bigger companies to do the distribution. But it's like because they already have Megan locked in, like
mhm.
she's their artist, so she may not have a deal specifically with the actual like major label. He does, his company actually has the deals with the
Well,
bigger.
Judge Vivian, you mentioned something about countersuit. What is a
Okay.
countersuit, and who can countersuit in a lawsuit?
So if somebody sues you for wrongdoing, in this particular instance, Meg is suing for wrongdoing, alleging that she never got any of her monies for her hard work. You can decide, oh, I think that you didn't do what you should have done by the contract as well. So I'm going to ask to sue you. And that's called a countersuit. It's that simple, that quick, that easy. And it depends. And I do know a snippet about the label here. It's called 1501. It was started by ex-baseball player named Carl Crawford. It has been picking up smaller indie artists that have been taking off as of late. Meg Thee Stallion is not the only artist over the last couple of years that have had severe complaints about this particular label, for lack of payment, feeling abandoned by their contracts, quite a few things. She is one of like 7, but right now she's the one pulling the most steam. So people are paying more attention to her than they were to the smaller artists who have been coming out against this label for a little bit of time. But thank you. And that's, I'm so glad you put that into context for most people, Attorney Thunderbird, because I don't think people understand that when they're reading the articles. There's reference to Rock Nation multiple times. But of course, as you said, we don't know how the contracts are set up, but we can give you a generalization by giving you a little bit more knowledge.
Well, Attorney Thunderbird, if your client is sued and you countersue, you're suing for $1 million, they're suing for $2 million. What's the net effect of that suit, countersuit? What happens?
What do you mean?
You're suing, your client gets sued for $1 million. You're countersuing for $2 million. Kind of what happens at the end of the all when the suit is finished for our lay listeners.
I guess I'm not following. I'm like, it depends on what happens in the lawsuit. I guess I'm not following what
you win your countersuit. They win their suit, their primary complaint. What happens? Who gets money?
So if they both win, then somebody's just ending up paying the difference. So if I sued for $2 million and they paid, I win my $2 million settlement and they win their $1 million settlement, then I just go home, with $1 million. It would just cancel the.
And it is always about money. Is it sometimes just about stop doing what you're doing or start doing something else?
Yeah, no, a lot of times in the music contract context, it is about injunctions. They want to stop somebody from doing something or to force somebody to perform as they were supposed to under the contract. So no, it's not always about the money, but whatchamacallit, because it sounds like in Megan's case, that's what it sounds like. It's like she, or at least this last suit, that it wasn't about the money. Mm-hmm. And he's now suing her for money based on the fact that he claims that he never got paid. So
yeah, this one wasn't about the money. It was to allow her to release new music and some other injunctive portions. We do have some questions. So I'm going to start going to our jurors here. One of our jurors says, I think that we are in an age where there's so much knowledge that people feel self-sufficient. I agree. YouTube University. Put people on. While I'm on YouTube, I'm talking about YouTube. Yes, I am. Do not come for me, YouTube. YouTube University has made people think that they are lawyers, doctors, nurses, therapists, mental health counselors. I need y'all to sit down. No, I agree. People are signing these things without lawyers going, I went on YouTube and YouTube told me, but YouTube ain't always right. It's sometimes.
Or my cousin said,
getting a lawyer who doesn't specialize in this type of work,
I love that point that you made. You would not see someone like me to do this. I can read, I can study, I can sit at the table, but do not get someone like me that has spent 32 years of my profession in the criminal arena. Right. I'm out of my zone. It's not me. That's a very good point. You specialize in different things. In law school, you don't specialize, but once you get out of law school, any one of us can be a contract lawyer, an agent, a criminal lawyer, but you kind of specialize in what you want to do. My specialization was criminal law for the most part. I did a little bit of civil, but you don't go to a head surgeon to have your arm removed. Just doesn't work.
The saying that's like asking a podiatrist to put something in your eye. It's
good point.
Right.
Good point.
We got another one here. I hope this isn't a dumb question. They often tell me there isn't any dumb questions, Rita. But what is the reasonable amount of time to ask an agency to allow you to have your attorney review the contract?
I'll answer that. I don't think I want to work with an agency doesn't allow me enough time to feel comfortable. Right. I'm not going to ask for months because there's a purpose of them hiring me or an event, events in December. I'm not going to read the contract in November. But if you don't give me ample time, that's the first sign to me that this relationship is probably not for me.
Exactly.
And you might be trying to pull some wool up over my eyes and be shady, and I don't have my shades tonight, but I would whip it out in this moment. So yeah, I agree. I think I would guesstimate, or at least what I would say to a client, because I do trademarks and contracts too. I would say like 2 to 3 weeks, give some time. And the reason why I would give the time is because, let's face it, we don't always agree with ourselves. So you probably even thinking that, oh, it is a good let's say it's a good contract, but you still sitting there going back and forth with yourself, like, ooh, I don't know if I want to be this. Ooh, I don't know if I want this person. Ooh, I didn't like the way such and so looked at me in the room last time, you know? So give yourself a chance to, because even though it is heavily about the contracts, I think a lot of times, as Judge Dawn mentioned earlier, the reason why we get even stuck in these contracts is because people don't pay attention to their own feelings. If you don't feel right, even if the contract's good, consider that. You know, think about it. Don't just ram forward. If you
That's
know,
not a dumb question at all, because in Florida here, when you're formally served a lawsuit, it's typically given 7 days, which is short, and sometimes 20 days to respond to that lawsuit. And so they know you need to think and hire an attorney and think and muddle again. And typically, not typically, a lot of times the attorneys ask for another 10 or 15 or 20 days to even respond after that mandatory 20 days. So to give you a time frame, I can't do that, but that's not a stupid question at all. No, it depends. If it's a one-page contract, a lease agreement, and you go to an attorney that I've done landlord-tenant thing for 14 years, I can read it in 30 minutes. You get me a contract about Rhythm Nation and Meg Thee Stallion. I don't even know who Meg Thee Stallion is. So give me 7 to 2 hours.
You know who Rhythm Nation is?
Rock Nation.
No, I don't know. Is it? Are they the
Janet.
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 Oh, that's a song. Okay. Okay. So please don't come to me for that kind of stuff. Because a lawyer we're in the business to make money. And so if you come to me and I'm maybe not as up on it as I need to be, and maybe hurting for money, I may take a case that I'm not qualified for. So make sure you ask the right questions. How long have you been doing this? Who are your clients? Can I talk to your former clients? Can I look at the website of what you've been doing? You're talking about the contract to sell a house or adopt a child or a speeding ticket. Make sure you have a lawyer that knows what we're supposed to do. Attorney Fundable made a valid point. Make sure you know someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly. I'm just, you know, I'm gonna add to Judge's thing, because everybody likes to say lawyers are always out for money. I don't always want your money. I'm gonna just say that. Sometimes I also want my peace, but I also am trying to help you as a client. You know, it is about the person, because as a person that's been in the creative arts myself personally, I mean, look at me. I started a show, for crying out loud. I definitely want people in this industry to think before they leave. Mind you, if you don't leave, you're not going to get nothing, in a closed hand can't get nothing in it. But we are still here because we do care about the fact that I think this is wrong. If it's true, because this is alleged right now, we are lawyers, not y'all lawyers.
Right, because I'm like, on the flip side, I'm like, how you with this label for 7 years ain't got one check? Now, one check, and you waited for a whole 7 years before you wanted to sue somebody?
Now,
Like,
mind you,
there's no way.
A little while ago.
Talking about, we would have had 1 year, period. We were probably
1 year. That's a long time with no money.
Well, I would have been like, you know, maybe statement number 2, look, accounting period number 2. Like, okay, yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out.
Now, I will throw out there that this lawsuit has been happening for a couple of years. It did start a little while ago.
5 years still. So, that's still
but
ridiculous.
I agree with you. I think I'd have popped in the door, peeked my head in the door a little quicker, like, right. I'm here.
What you got going on, sir? Look, because I need.
Well, you know what? Maybe don't worry about it. What do you need? I want to fly to Europe. Hook up in Europe. I want a Mercedes-Benz. Hook up a Mercedes-Benz. I want to buy a villa in France. Hook up a villa in France. Don't worry about it, Megan. We got you covered. I'm 20 years old. I'm 22 years old. I'm not questioning authority. I'm driving a Benz and diamonds and pearls everywhere. So I got this. The paycheck, I haven't gotten a paycheck, but Okay, but I'm getting everything I need.
It's
My mind is not clicking that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny
No,
you say
that's
that
paying for.
with
Yeah,
this comment we
yeah.
got, yo. It says I find a lot of people like what they hear rather than what is factual.
Oh
It's
my
funny
God.
you say that because they be like, "Oh, I'm gonna make sure that you have," and then you got diamonds on your wrist. Like, it's you're gonna. I know that was a definitive selling point. You have to sell it. What's the point in?
And not only that, right? Because it's like you have the conversations. That's also how they get you during that contract process because they tell you everything that's in it, right? So before they sign you, like, oh, it just says this. This is basically just this, like, and it's like, oh, okay. You feel like you might have went through the contract with them. Now you feel like you understand, oh, this is just saying this. Don't that's nothing, yeah, just go ahead and initial right here. And so I mean, I had a client who thought he was signing a management agreement. When he came to me, he was trying to get out of the contract. And I'm like, this is a co-publishing agreement. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm very confused. And he's like, no, he was supposed to be my manager and blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, that's not what this says at all. And I'm like, and there's a specific clause all the time in all contracts in that boilerplate, that entire agreement clause that basically says, hey, everything that we say in this contract is the context of our deal. Any conversations we have before this, after this, like none of that matters. If it's not in the square, four corners of this document, then it doesn't apply. And
I'm
so
gonna quickly say what she mean by boilerplate is standard. That means it's what's generally in most contracts. I hate that we have to go because our show's only 30.
Oh my gosh.
And we was getting into this one.
Oh my God. Can Funderburg come back again? Dr. Vivian?
We're gonna have to do part 2 largely because this case is gonna be going on for quite some time. They don't seem to be they sinking their teeth in on this bad boy. Nice. So I'm excited to know what's going to happen next. We also have some exciting attorneys coming on the next couple shows too, guys. So we're so happy to have you here. Thank you for those who are sharing. Thank you for those who love us. As I say all the time, if you truly love me, then share me. What's the point in keeping it all to yourself? Leave us your comments, send us DMs if you want us to talk about a specific topic. If you've seen something on the news and you was like, oh, I wonder what they got to say about that. Let us know. We are here for you. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We are so grateful to have you guys with us.
Attorney Funderburg, thanks so much. You could be doing 1,000 other things this time than spending this time with us. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. I enjoyed you guys.
It was so fun.
See you next Thursday, everybody. See you next Thursday.